When I was a kid, me and my friends stayed up all night playing a game that, to this day, I believe is one of the greatest online games ever made. The Pirates of the Caribbean Online. You could do anything in this game. You could fight with swords, you could fight with boats, you could shoot scorpions in the literal face. There were cute little mini games to repair your boat after combat. There was Jack Sparrow. Jack frickin' Sparrow, dude! God, this game is so good! There was no point to this game other than upgrade your boat and explore. There were no achievements, no checklists, no seasons, just a vast ocean and your beautiful, beautiful character told to go out and have an adventure. It was truly one of the most fun MMORPGs ever made. So it shut down in 2013. I'm definitely nostalgic for this game. I mean, I did play it for 20 hours last weekend, and it's definitely still amazing, but I think I remember the world looking a little less... Pirates of the Caribbean is a lot of things, but first and foremost, it's fun. This year, I played World of Warcraft for like hundreds of hours, and I don't think I had a lot of fun. Hold on, I'm not actually used to holding such a big microphone. Yeah, this is better. I know it's overwhelmingly common to be like, ugh, old thing is so much better than new thing, but usually the people who say that are stupid. And I'm not stupid. I'm the president of MMORPGs, and everyone knows the president isn't allowed to be stupid. With MMORPGs specifically though, there has been an undeniable change in the way these games are designed. The point of this video isn't to say that you can't have fun with a modern MMORPG. You absolutely can, but fun as a design goal is now secondary to arbitrary incentives to keep you playing, whether you want to or not, by giving you a sense of guilt if you miss even one day of logging into this game that has turned into a job for some reason. In my opinion. Trying to explain why something is fun is like trying to dissect a frog. It's just kinda gross, but you have to do it for science. Fun is a very subjective thing, but there are also really clear design patterns in what makes games specifically fun. That's why we have game design in the first place. What helps me figure out why I even play this genre is to look at what sets it apart from other games, especially other online games. Look at the biggest online games in the world. Fortnite, League of Legends, Valorant, Tarkov. In each of these games, you're put into a match with dozens or sometimes hundreds of other players. Sometimes you have to work with other people, other times it's everyone versus everyone. But in all of these games, one thing is constant. When the match ends, the world ends with it. Nothing persists. Not even your character persists. The things you do in one match won't have any bearing on the things you're able to do in the next, with very few exceptions. Each match is its own little universe that exists for 20 minutes to an hour, and then it disappears. MMORPGs, on the other hand, can last forever. Your character can last forever. The hours you spend grinding some minor 1% DPS increased dagger from an endgame raid will still matter the next day, and the next month, and possibly even for years afterwards if the game is well made. The major selling point, to me at least, of MMORPGs is that they're persistent worlds, and because they persist, the time I invest into the game matters, at least relative to the game itself. When you step back and think about it, it's incredible that the RuneScape character I made at a sleepover with my friends 20 years ago is still there today. Sure, the world has changed a lot, but it is the same world. It's the same character. It's the same stats. This obviously doesn't make a game inherently fun. I mean, just look at my MMO. This isn't even a joke. I actually made a game for this bit. All you can do is chop trees. It's actually multiplayer too. And trust me, this game isn't fun, which actually proves my point, so really I'm a genius. For a persistent world to be fun, there have to be meaningful and lasting ways to invest your time, and those activities need to deliver the dopamine rush of progress, the way only numbers on a screen can. Obviously grinding skills in RuneScape, or hunting minions in Final Fantasy XIV, or doing whatever it is people do in Guild Wars are all great examples of this. But investment can also come in the form of exploring the world, socializing, PvPing. The rewards for those types of gameplay might be less explicit, but they have the ability to be just as meaningful if they're done right. An MMORPG without at least one of these examples is, well, my game. Again, this is a real game I made just for this joke. The best MMOs, the ones that stood the test of time or are still remembered to this day, are the ones that mix all of these systems together. And in my opinion, Old School RuneScape, the sponsor of today's video, is an example of an MMO doing just that, especially with the release of the first new skill in the game's history, sailing. The sailing skill is unlike anything the game has seen before, and trust me, I've been playing since 2005. It mixes together brand new monsters to fight, new areas to explore, and obviously a lot of new rewards. You'll get to build and upgrade your own ship, tying in other skills and resources from across Gilnor. You can man your ship yourself with NPCs, or better yet, get your friends on board and take on the seas together. And the best part, this skill is for players of all types, whether you're a casual player who likes to socialize, a nearly maxed Iron Man with social anxiety, or someone who's never even tried RuneScape before. This skill will open up a whole new way for you to experience the game. I know this is a sponsored segment, but this literally applies to everything I've been saying so far in the video, so good job, Jagex, keep it up. So head to the link in the description to try sailing in Old School RuneScape, because I genuinely think this is one of the ways we're gonna bring fun back to the MMO genre. It really is cool though how Old School RuneScape has content that appeals to so many different types of players. I really think someone should go ahead and write a book about all the different types of MMO players. Oh, hi Richard. Richard Bartle, the guy who literally wrote the book on designing virtual worlds, has a pretty famous chart breaking down the types of players in online games, talking about how they interact with the world they're given. These player types are known as Bartle types. Wow, real original, Richard. Richard's four main types of players were the socializer, the explorer, the killer, and the achiever. But it's important to note that this graph is a spectrum. One player is not going to be exclusively one of these. They'll be somewhere in the middle-ish. Bartle types are a staple in MMO design. They have been since the 90s when the book was written. Some games have even gone as far as to explicitly implement Bartle types into their game. Real idleheads will know that I'm talking about WildStar. I literally just made a video on WildStar. The idea of Bartle types, of a single game having an appeal to so many different types of players, is really exclusive to MMORPGs. Single player games are usually limited to one or two types at most. Like Pokemon, some people want to beat the Elite Four, while others want to do what Ash never could and catch them all. Even other online games like Call of Duty will only have one or two types. You have the killer who wants to, play Call of Duty, and maybe you have the achiever who wants to unlock every weapon skin. MMORPGs, at least the successful ones, had to appeal to a way wider spectrum of players, and they did a really good job at that, at least at first. Take vanilla World of Warcraft, for example. If you liked monster bashing, the game had plenty of monsters and quests to do monster bashing. If you liked exploring, this was a vast world with secrets in every corner that you could truly just get lost in, even going as far as to explore Out of Bounds, which became its whole subculture in the game. Even though it wasn't intended, it was there. It appealed to socializers by having manufactured downtime, like the boat rides, where there was nothing you personally could do to make that go faster, so you might as well be inefficient and talk to people. And it obviously appealed to achievers by having many near-term and long-term goals to reach for, like getting your Cruel Barb very early from Dead Mines, or maybe one day making Thunder Fury, Blessed Blade of the Windseeker. Thunder Fury, Blessed Blade of the Windseeker. In a truly fun MMORPG, there are countless ways to invest your time and make meaningful progress that will make players want to come back because they want to. But if you ask the average MMORPG player where they fell on Bartle's chart, most would probably say that they're achievers, and that makes a lot of sense. What feels good in an MMO is that lasting sense of progress, and nothing delivers that better than achieving a goal. So little by little, the parts of the game that didn't contribute to that sense of achievement, that didn't appeal to achievers, started to wither away. And that's how we ended up where we are now, in the checklist here. In 2008, with the Wrath of the Lich King expansion, World of Warcraft added achievements to the game. It became the first MMORPG to copy what the MMORPG City of Heroes did all the way back in 2004. Achievements were a hugely popular part of gaming already, specifically with the Xbox 360 and the gamer score. God, no wonder we got bullied in high school. They make a lot of sense from a design perspective. Players love getting rewarded for doing stuff in-game, like killing a monster or stealing green goo from a train while riding a jetpack. But for as long as video games have been around, players have strayed off the path developers originally set out for them. So achievements became an easy add-on to games to make all of those challenges players would attempt anyway official. MMORPGs especially are an extremely logical fit for a system like achievements. The time investment required to do normal content in one of these games is already far beyond what's needed to beat most single-player games, and even still, MMO players will find new and innovative ways to kill time, like gambling, or exploring, or role-playing, or gambling. So why wouldn't a developer want to find a way to codify the different ways to play their game? But it wouldn't take long for achievements to evolve into something much more than that. Jeff Kaplan, WoW's game director at the time and certified Dreamboat, talked about the evolution of achievements as directed gameplay in a talk at GDC in 2009.
I think achievements have now evolved to the point where players buy an Xbox 360 game and they actually look at the achievement list first, and they use that achievement list to decide how they're going to play the game.
Achievements telling you how to play the game is something that works really well for single-player games, where typically the amount of ways you can interact with the game are more limited. But in MMORPGs, where the scope of player types is so much wider and player agency is so important, achievements take all of those barrel types I talked about and merge them into one. Into achievers. You're not exploring to explore anymore, following a track off the main road and wandering into a cave where you happen to find a quest giver. You're exploring because the achievement screen said you should, and it feels good to check things off a list. It changes the framing of the game, despite the content mostly all being the same. It starts, and get ready for this little phrase I cooked up, homogenizing the player experience. I'll just give you a second to sit with that one. It's a pretty powerful line. This is especially true when achievements are used to tell new players how they should play the game. But achievements specifically aren't my issue here. They were just the precursor to the real issue. The seed that blossomed into something much worse. Like the angry plant from the Mario games. I can't remember what it's called. Sticking with World of Warcraft, let's look at what a day in that game looks like today. You log in, look at the beautiful city of Dornegal, and you get to decide, what are you gonna do with this wonderful world at your fingertips? Or do you? World of Warcraft is full to the brim with dailies, weeklies, and of course, checklists. There's the Fractured Spark of Starlight that you obtain by doing a couple of weekly reset quests. You have the World quests, which give you the seasonal currency and reset a couple of times per week. There's Faerun, who will literally give you a list of things to do, and there's of course the Great Vault. Every week you complete whichever activities on the list Blizzard made for you want, and in return you obtain a piece of your best in slot gear. On paper, this might sound fine. If you're someone who enjoys large-scale raiding content, then that's the path you can follow. If you actually lean more towards solo content like delves, you can do that too. Look, it's player agency. But is it? Is it really? Yes, this Great Vault system does present you with a choice, but it's a choice on a very limited scale that doesn't actually encourage the player to find their own way to interact with the game. It tells them how they should be interacting with the game, and all of that diverse content is funneled into one reward system, checking off a list to get a prize, just like achievements. I'm not saying this system can't be fun. I know you've already left your comment talking about how much you love World of Warcraft. You're not alone. Apparently there are 9 million subscribers. That's bonkers. What I'm saying is this system imposes a very specific style of fun on you, which to me isn't what MMORPGs are about. World of Warcraft is just the easiest example to pick on as the most popular MMORPG, but look at any modern MMO and you'll see the same design patterns. A common response people will give you when you criticize a system like the Great Vault is that, well, you don't have to do it. And I think, frankly, that's a really disingenuous argument. You piece of shit. Real human beings create these games and they add things in with the explicit intention of players somehow interacting with it, either directly or indirectly. So if there's a powerful piece of content in a game, This could be any game. The rest of the game will probably be designed around the assumption that that piece of content was used by the player. So now, as the player who wants to ignore that content, the rest of the game is going to feel worse, especially if you know you're not playing the way the game was intended to be played because you disagree with a design decision. It doesn't feel good. RuneScape 3 has this exact issue with its daily system, which is by far the best way to get your XP, by logging in every day and doing these activities. And it's objectively not fun to do, but you feel really bad if you choose not to do it, if you choose to handicap yourself. Oh yeah, that reminds me, the Great Vault is a weekly system. You have to log in and do these activities every week, and if you miss a week, there's a good chance you're falling behind. And you don't want to fall behind because then you're missing out. And we fear of missing out. The fear of missing out is a phenomenon where a person, like you, is afraid of missing out on something other people are participating in, like drugs or World of Warcraft. FOMO has always been a part of MMORPGs. It's a social genre, and nothing drives FOMO more than knowing other people are experiencing something that you're not, especially when that thing is temporary. You can see FOMO in MMORPGs all over the place. If a new MMORPG launches with a ton of hype like New World did, it'll only take a few days for the forum posts to start flooding in, asking if it's too late to start playing. Something in our smooth little monkey brains makes us feel like if we're not there when the player count and hype is at its peak, it's never worth playing at all, because the game is basically dead by comparison. This obviously isn't the case. Okay, well, it is the case with New World. That game is actually dead. But the power of FOMO alone is strong enough to get people to pay a subscription and log hundreds of hours a year on a game. So obviously, MMO designers started weaponizing it. Like I've already said, the Great Vault is on a weekly reset, so if you miss a week, you're behind. RuneScape 3 has all of their dailies. Even innocent old Guild Wars 2 has daily achievements that make you feel guilty for not logging in every day. And don't even get me started on mobile MMOs, which will have login bonuses for logging in every day and streaks for logging in multiple days in a row. So if you break your streak, you don't want to break your streak. I would argue that this daily and weekly game design is worse for MMORPGs than microtransactions. I know what you're thinking. Wow, Mr. President, did you actually take your stupid little bitch pills today? Okay, first of all, don't talk to me like that. And second of all, hear me out. Dailies aren't fun, but to their credit, they were never supposed to be. It's always been about creating artificial ways to form a habit in players to log in every day, making sure that no matter how much their interest in the game starts to wane, there'll be that voice in their back of their head that says they have to log in and do the dailies. You know, so you don't miss out. Microtransactions can be ignored. Yeah, you're not gonna have a good time if you see everyone else buying their power, but then you can just stop playing. Microtransactions alone won't compel you to log in. In fact, they might be enough to repel you entirely. Dailies are way more sinister. But daily activities aren't the only form of FOMO-based design MMOs have used to keep players coming back for no reason other than that they have to. The entire model of expansions and seasons is literally based on the same principle. Take Destiny 2, for example. Yeah, that's right, Destiny is an MMO, people. I read your comments. Destiny 2 is a game that is online and also has many players. At its core, it's a game where you grind hundreds of hours for better gear, and you know what? That can be fun. Getting new gear is fun. The core of Destiny 2's long-term gameplay for a long time was based on seasons. Seasons were kind of like mini expansions with tons of new content, new levels of power, new dungeons, and more. They aren't dissimilar from new patches in World of Warcraft, the content drops that filled the time between expansions. But the main selling point for each season was the new seasonal activity. The seasonal activity could really be anything. A matchmaking PvP mode, a wave-based challenge, a world boss-ish thing. And at the end of the season, that activity would go away, and the next season would start with its own new activity. This is obviously FOMO-based design to some extent. If you miss out on the season, you miss out on the content. But I think a lot of people kind of like that model. Just look at Path of Exile, that's been doing a version of that for over a decade to some pretty great success. So actually, maybe this is harmless. I don't even know why but Bungie, don't add a battle pass to. In 2019, Bungie added a battle pass to the season, so now if you miss a significant time during the season, you were really fucked. The Battle Pass Destiny 2 had was full of season-exclusive rewards that could only be earned by playing that season at a consistent pace. It's the truest form of FOMO design there is, and it was packed into an already sort of FOMO-based game. It actually was so bad that the game director at the time, Luke Smith, even admitted that the season had too much FOMO in them. Do you know how bad things have to get for these companies to admit they're exploiting FOMO? Pretty fucking bad. To their credit, Bungie did ease up on how exclusive the seasonal rewards were, and also shifted to a slower season cadence with their episode system. And now, Destiny 2's in a great spot, and everyone loves it. And Luke Smith's doing great too, by the way. There were only 202 signatures on the petition to get him removed as game director. Destiny 2's explicit seasonal model is really similar, like I said before, to World of Warcraft's patch and, on a larger scale, expansion model. Going from one World of Warcraft expansion to another will, with very few exceptions, completely reset your power level. Whether you're someone who just hit the old level cap right before the expansion drop, or a person who grinded their Great Vault every single week, you're on the same ground when it comes to pure power when the next expansion drops. That means, collecting aside, all of that grinding you did is pretty meaningless. And even beyond that, the systems that define WoW's expansions, like the artifacts in Legion, are literally called borrowed power, because when the expansion ends, you lose that power. It's gone. Sure, the dungeons and raids from each expansion will technically still exist, but no one does them. No one's playing through that old content, and even if you use the built-in system to replay old expansions, Chromie time, it is a really hollow and kind of liminal experience. Like, the entire time you kind of feel like, I'm not supposed to be here. If you want to hear more about World of Warcraft's weird relationship with past expansions, another YouTuber called Ed has some great videos on it, and he also has great videos on almost every World of Warcraft expansion, so I highly recommend you check them out. I'll put a link in the description. The point is, nothing in World of Warcraft persists anymore. Nothing is forever. The only thing that is actually forever are the collectibles from expansions, and that means you better be logging in all the time during the expansion to get those collectibles, because some of them don't come back. That's like half the point of the Legion remix that's happening right now, is to collect no longer collectible things from the Legion expansion. Hopefully by now you've noticed one consistent thing with this FOMO-based design. People play the game to prevent a bad feeling, not because they want to have fun. Checklists and FOMO have taken a genre where you could be whatever you wanted to be in a vast world, whether you liked exploring or socializing or achieving, you could still achieve, into a genre where all you can do is check things off a list every single week, and by God, you better not miss a week. Raph Koster, a legend in the MMO industry who helped make games like Ultima Online and Star Wars Galaxies, has a blog he's been writing since the late 90s. He asks and answers a lot of great questions in this blog, like, should designers force players to play as they intend? Are these games or are they worlds? Is twinking bad? But one forum post he wrote back in the early 2000s stuck out to me, on socialization and convenience. The forum post is mostly him and the Star Wars Galaxies designers struggling with the balance of creating downtime versus creating convenience, because, as he puts it, people get to know people during downtime. Socialization requires downtime. And that's true. I've talked about it before, even in this video. If you look at classic World of Warcraft, the game is littered with forced downtime that becomes an opportunity to socialize, because even we, as modern players who want to optimize everything, can't do much to make the downtime faster. And it's not just the boat trips or Zeppelin rides. It's the little things like the time it takes to find a group manually by talking to World Chat or asking your guild. But convenience won out because players want convenience. Obviously. It didn't take long for Blizzard to add a looking for group tool that automatically finds a group for you, and later, that same tool would just teleport you to the dungeon and back again after it was over. There is no downtime anymore, so you're lucky if anyone says a word to each other during a dungeon run. This shift, a drive to give players what they want in the most literal sense, is how we got to where we are today, beyond socialization dying in MMOs. players usually love things like grinding and collecting and achieving and progressing, so it makes sense why these games started adding in achievements and then collections and then activities like the Great Vault that became the center of the gameplay loop. And it makes sense why games like RuneScape started making their grind significantly easier. Speeding up the progress felt good at the most base level. MMOs have morphed and evolved to feed us as players what we think we want, and in doing that, they've also become more one-dimensional, built for only one type of player, even if it's the most common type of player. What I'm saying is, part of this is our fault, at least a little, and it's why future MMOs, or the evolution of current MMOs at least, need to do something different. My friend Theorywise likes to say, when talking about World of Warcraft Classic Plus, a version of the vanilla game that is updated in a similar way to old school RuneScape, that a game developer's job is to interpret feedback. If it was as easy as implementing everything players say they want, then anyone could be a game dev. And he's right. Players are not designers. Even old school RuneScape with its polling system, it's the developers who come up with the ideas. The players just decide if they're good or not. I guess what I'm saying is, you think you do, but you don't. Sorry. MMOs today are the logical progression of boiling down what made MMOs fun for the most people in its absolute simplest form. But fun shouldn't be boiled down. It should be cooled and inflated? I know saying wildly successful games like World of Warcraft are doing it wrong is crazy, but I do genuinely believe that in terms of being an MMORPG, they're failing. I think the reason we see so many modern MMOs fail is because they try so hard to be good achievement MMOs when there's so much more they could be offering that would, by hearkening back to the old days, differentiate them from what's on the market today. But I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm an idiot. I'm probably an idiot.
Hey, you're a patron. Thank you so much for your support. Hey, you're a patron. I like you very much, cause hey, you're a patron. Patreon is where you're at. You went to the URL in the description and you gave me your money, and that's pretty neat. Hey, you're a patron. Thank you so much for your support. Hey, you're a patron. I like you very much, cause hey, you're a patron. Patreon is where you're at. You went to the URL in the description and you gave me your money, and that's pretty neat.